Good afternoon, everyone. I'm assuming because this side is more full than this side that there must be a lot of leftists in the room, but of course that's my perspective. My name is Todd Lester, and my day job is that I'm the director of an organization that's called Free Dimensional. Got all sorts of paraphernalia on Free Dimensional up here if you want afterwards, but I'll say very quickly in a plug that what we do with a network of about 400 residencies in 70 countries is that we host artists who get into trouble for their political points of view and for doing their work. And we ask artist residencies to use their surplus apartments when they have them to accommodate these individuals who are censored, sometimes lose their jobs, sometimes are violently attacked, and sometimes are killed for being artists but doing the work of activists. We just published a book that's called Art Spaces Hosting Activism. It's a free book that you can download as a PDF from our site, and you're welcome to see the copy that I have printed here. The title of the panel is Future Residency, and it's a two-part panel. It started yesterday, but I want to assuage your concerns if you weren't here yesterday that it'll be all new material today, referring back to some very interesting points yesterday, but we will definitely bring you up to speed if you were not here. From seeing the potential of the artist residency sector to do a very social service, as I just mentioned, hosting artists and activists in distress, I got an idea, I got a hint that the artist residency sector was capable of doing a lot more in terms of addressing the contemporary issues and conditions that we see around us every day. Yesterday we touched on a few issues. We touched on health, mental health, migration and border control. We touched on queer youth issues, and we touched on the flip side of the same coin, which is maybe power and leadership. I'd like to remind you all of who was at the table yesterday, because they're all in the room, and the discussion will come back around to the full 8 panelists of the 2 panels in a little while. So Kay Barrett was here yesterday, and she represented a variety of issues. The issue of coming to the U.S. from the Philippines, the issue of being transgender, the issues that she sees around her in her daily practice. She mentioned a case that we're all very aware of in the U.S. and in New York City, that over the last month and a half, 8 young people in the U.S. have committed suicide, queer youth who were bullied and harassed in various ways. The point for me, because again, I'm the big editor here, I'm the one who got the privilege of putting together a couple of panels, the point for me was that in a city like New York, we have over 60% of our homeless youth population who are queer, and that's a homeless youth population of about 16,000. So we're talking about thousands of young people who are without a home. And we're also, I'm trying to point to some innovations. So in New York City, 2 very famous people, an actor, B. Arthur, musician, Cyndi Lauper, have both bequeathed, B. Arthur bequeathed the creation of a space for queer youth. Cyndi Lauper gives the proceeds of her concerts to another home for queer youth. And as Kay rightly pointed out, is that these are very much art spaces in addition to the utility of giving home where there isn't. Akaya Winwood talked to us about the idea of purpose and the difference between purpose and goal, and really said something that I haven't heard said enough, that artists are often brought in on the tail end of decision-making processes to essentially graphic design the outcomes of decisions that they weren't asked for their input on. And with her place at the Rockwood Leadership Institute, she intends to make a change to disrupt that cycle by integrating artists into the leadership cohorts that they very deeply train. And I speak from experience, being one of their alumni. Olga Lafazani talked to us about her work with the No Border camps in Europe, and explained to us, elucidated this very egregious practice of warehousing humans and really storing humans in conditions that you wouldn't expect animals to be kept under. Lino Hellings, last but certainly not least. I got so many wonderful comments yesterday after the panel, and a lot of them were directed to your work in the mental health community, but also what is an alternative practice in the residency world, which is creating artist residencies where they are not already established in places you might not expect to find them. Media laboratories in Dhaka, Bangladesh, Alzheimer's homes in the Netherlands, etc., etc. So, I'm glad they're all here in the audience, but wow, I'm almost not even looking at this great panel that I have to my right. So let me quickly introduce you to some really important people who have some really amazing messages. Right beside me is Arantxa Mendejarrat. She's coming to us from Spain, and her project is so difficult for me to say, Improbable. Yeah? I know Arantxa for a little while, and when I was thinking of Akaya being on one panel, I thought of Arantxa being on the other, because I know that her work in embedding artists into businesses and social service providers in Spain has the potential to be scaled out much more widely, and I know that she attempts to do this in the way that Akaya challenges us to think, where the artist has a degree of agency and is at a decision-making table and not just graphic designing the outcomes. Right beside her is Naomi Beckwith, who is the associate curator at the Studio Museum of Harlem, which is not really why she's on this table. She's also on the board of a really progressive project that I get to see in my own backyard in Brooklyn. It's called the Laundromat Project, and it uses public space of a laundromat as an artist studio in communities of color in New York. And again, it has the scalability to go much further than that. Beside her is Fazet Bordage, and I can't even enumerate on my fingers the things that Fazet has created, but I'll try. She helped to found the network Trans Europe Hall, which is a 40-member space, many of them reused industrial spaces across Europe. She also has led an art space in Paris called Mandovre, and from that also created another network called Art Factories, which is an information platform that is also virtual. More recently, she's worked for the Institut de Ville, and she'll tell us what her next project is, because I know she's moving on from that. And last but certainly not least, Jean-Baptiste Joly, who is the founder of Académie Schloss Solitude in Germany, and I think he's been doing that for about 22 years. And I'm hoping that after 22 years of doing something, you get the privilege to draw outside the box. And I'm hoping maybe he'll tell us some ideas, some developments, some trends that he's seen. We're going to go just like yesterday. I've asked the panelists to not speak for over 5 minutes, and then there was a revolt, and I said, okay, 10 minutes. But really, we're going to keep it very minimal so that there's plenty of time to talk. After all 4 panelists have talked about what they want to talk about, I'm going to invite the panelists from yesterday to come back either on the front row or on the stage. It's their choice. I want them to be close so that you know that it is open game to direct your questions to a few of us at a time, and certainly include those who were here yesterday. And also, as you know from yesterday, Joaquin Barrientos is sitting very close by. I've asked him to help me capture some of the ideas that come across in the panel. And I was so thankful yesterday at the end of the panel, 2 hours of what I would call a workout. He summated some things very nicely, and I was very thankful for that. So let me be quiet and invite Naomi Beckwith to start with her presentation on the Laundromat Project, then Arantxa, then Jean-Baptiste, and finally Fazet.